All right. We're live.
Awesome. So, hey everybody, welcome back to welcome to we're pretty much in the 2018 season at this point. A week to go until for week season kicks off. Season 3 of Game of Thrones Dynasty podcast for the Dynasty League. I'm the Iron Bank. I'm here with House Dondarrion slash House, just the commissioner, the man, the myth, the legend. Lewis, how we doing?
I'm all right. I'm out on the links. I'm on the front nine right now, third hole, shooting one under. So I like it. But I'm doing good. I'm excited. I'm ready for football. I haven't gotten to watch very. I don't even think I've seen one. I maybe little bits and clips, but I don't think I've actually gotten to watch any football yet. Not sure I'm going to be able to watch any football the first couple of weeks, but I am excited that it's back. Or
Well,
yeah, back. It's back. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, if you haven't watched much football yet, let me go ahead and send you a few trades here before you watch anything, just to make sure I strike while the iron's hot. But I'm saying we're up to season 3 here of the league. So I'm trying to think season 3 of the league versus season 3 of Game of Thrones. Season 3 in Game of Thrones is when Red Wedding happened, right?
I don't know. Season 6. I was trying to think of a way to name this thing, and I was like, I want to do something in terms of the release video, because I think that was the goal here, is to get everybody on so we could bump up the release video a little bit. The only thing I can think of them releasing in Game of Thrones is Ramsay Bolton releasing the dogs on that fat bitch and the kid. Do you remember that scene? That was season 6. So that
Yeah.
was season 6. So we're not that far along yet in Game of Thrones. So
So in 3
season
more
3
years,
Red Wedding probably sounds right. Yeah, in 3 more years we can reference that.
yeah,
But
you can
totally.
release the dogs on Swan and her kid.
Hey, there we go.
All right. Anyways, so we are back into the swing of things here. So, I done a off-season power rankings pod post the draft, but again, lots happened here. Some trades, some free agency changes, some injuries. That's probably shaking things up a little bit here. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start going division by division and take a look at the teams here that we kind of think stand out, and then some of the ones who have kind of had the most change over the last offseason here, even the preseason, for who's really coming after King Banefort for that Iron Throne. And then, I mean, there haven't been a ton of trades to really go through that yet, but hopefully now that we're about to kick it off again, we'll jump right back into things. But what better place to start than in the North? So, for those who have not looked at the league page in a while, by the way, thanks, Lewis. The updates do look quite nice. 4 teams in the North: House Reed, House Bolton, House Stark, and House Forrester. A quick overview of kind of the key points of those rosters. Reed is in rebuild quarterbacks, Rodgers and Mayfield, but he has Kaiser now as the official backup for Rodgers, so good for him. Cleveland backfield and Ty Montgomery and Aaron Jones in the running back position. Tons of flyers outside of Adams at the receiver position, Marquise Goodwin, Aldrick Robinson, not Allen Robinson. That's the joy of using the roster page. And then Charles Clay is maybe a good bridge tight end for when Gesicki can kick in. So not quite ready to compete yet, but close, and probably will win himself enough games that he won't be a top 10 pick. Bolton, let's see, Tygod, Rosen, and Karen. And again, he gets the Egan Award for still having Kaepernick rostered, so good for you. Mac is, I think, the only starter he has at running back.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Receiver, he doesn't have anyone other than Julio and maybe Hearns, and then Beasley, depending on where he lands in the depth chart. And then similar situation to Reed, Jared Cook, Goddard, and Kendricks. So probably not a starter, but at least Reed has a bridge. Next, we have the Starks, Rosen and Watson at quarterback, Cohen, Foreman, Kamara, running back, and Jordan Wilkins. We'll see how things shake out in Indy. Keelan Cole, which you just got from you, Quincy Nunwa, Gabriel, Ridley, and that's kind of it. So really not really there at receiver, and then hoping for Dixon to hang on to that job in Seattle, or else really doesn't have a starting tight end. So right now, Reed's the best team in this division, but I think we see it the best for last here. House Forrester probably runs away with this again. Breeze and Rivers as quarterbacks, Ingram, Shady McCoy, and Adrian Peterson as running backs. Keenan, Brown, Cooks, Julio as receivers, and then Jimmy Graham at tight end, and still hoping that Jordan Reed can come back and pretend not to be concussed for a few games. So obviously, I think Forrester's the front runner here. You think anyone from this division has a shot at a wild card?
No. Somebody's echoing. It is not good for the other teams here. The echo went away, so thank God. But I also think that the teams in this division made smart choices in terms of rebuilding, because I think all of them somewhat, got into that mode. Bolton has 3 or 4 first-round picks. There's of course that there's not much more to sell on that team. He does have one young quarterback, which is good. Max Young, with him being his only running back, I don't think Mac moves. I don't think Julio moves because too expensive. What could happen though is something happens to Julio. He does have Mohamed Sanu, so I could see maybe selling high on Mohamed Sanu if something was to happen to Julio. But other than that, there's not much room for that team to get any worse or any better this year. Jeremy's team is clearly rebuild, and then Stark, his team's decent. I think I have to pull it up. I like some of the names that you said. He's young at quarterback. He's young at running back and has, I believe, 2 studs there at running back. But a lot of dart throws at wide receiver, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so he's got he's only got 1 young running back. He's got Kamara and some other options. But both quarterbacks are young. The running backs are a bunch of dart throws, which is why I was kind of surprised that he was willing to move Robert Woods, who I thought was his clear number 1 wide receiver, because the rest of this is, it is a lot of dart throws.
So speaking for House Asparagus, Greyjoy, what are you thinking about this?
I'm still trying to catch up to what you guys are talking about.
We're talking about the division by division, looking at the North.
I mean, it looks like Forrester and then a whole lot of nothing to me. I missed your House Reed discussion, so I'm just going over his roster right now. But
at least he has some people who could be startable at the running back and tight end position.
He's missing a few of the Green Bay Packers. It looks like
yes, the ones that matter.
Well, he's got several of the ones who matter, but not all of them.
So it'll be interesting. If he gets the right Green Bay backfield, I think his team will actually be decent. I'm not sure it's a playoff team, but I'm also at the same time not sure he's got the right pieces of either of the backfields he's got. That being Green Bay and Cleveland's. I think he's missing Hyde, which probably is the one that he'd want to own out the gate. At least that's what it seems to be from how Cleveland's been using him.
I've got Hyde. Someone should come to me.
Do you like Green Bay players?
The problem is I think he likes Green Bay players a little too much.
So there's that. But the one thing I did want to say is, because I started to say this and I got off course or off topic, the 3 other teams here have either really luckily gotten into this rebuild mode or are very smart with it, because there were some times during this offseason where, looking at House Forrester, who is the aforementioned top dog of this division, we kind of saw this collapse of his team in WWE a little bit. He's very lucky that it didn't happen here. You're looking at a team that is very, very old at the quarterback position. His best running back LaShawn McCoy was very, very close with that whole, like very close to being suspended and most likely going the Ray Rice route and never playing in the NFL again. Mark Ingram suspended for 4 games, and after that, his running backs, there's nothing there. He's going to J.D. McKissick's hurt for at least a couple weeks, so you're talking about him starting like Doug Martin and Mike Gillislee at running back.
What's wrong with
that? Yeah, what's wrong with that? The running backs or the wide receivers are nice. They're going to be good for a while, but again, I think if you look at the teams that have won this league, they were carried in each of their particular years by a good run from running back position. So we'll see. But again, it's very. I mean, you also hit on the tight ends that they're old, they're injured, and so this team is very, very close to going off the deep end. And I have a sneaky suspicion that he is going to hold on to the players that he does have that have value for too long and then not be able to get any value back out of them. So we'll see.
As far as the starting lineup goes, this has to be the oldest one in the league.
Yeah, probably.
Plus, he also gets really pissed off when we say he doesn't know how to rebuild. So, taking a look at this team, he clearly doesn't know how to rebuild.
He does have DJ Moore though, which is a surprise pick. I don't know where that came from. I don't know who was available at the time, but like when you look at his team and what he has, I'm not sure why he wasted a first-round pick on DJ Moore. You would think he'd need a running back because he doesn't have any, and I believe his youngest like worthwhile one in Mark Ingram is 28. So
he's got the starting running back in San Francisco, Alfred Morris.
Oh, yeah. Well, let me click on Alfred Morris here. I really wish I want to plug the thing in and see what the average age of his starting lineup is. Just see what it is. Alfred Morris is 29, so I think my statement still rings true that Mark Ingram at 28 is his youngest like viable piece at running back. Is Mark Ingram still 28? Yeah, Mark Ingram is 28 until December. So Mark Ingram is the youngest viable piece in his running back group there.
Cool. All right. Well, as confirmed, it's Forrester maybe for this year, and then who knows afterwards. But Reed maybe can make a surprise, but otherwise it looks like a pretty straightforward division. Speaking of another straightforward division, we're going to move down here to the Riverlands and Iron Islands, and I think Greyjoy's won this back-to-back years, and it's going to be tough for him not to get a three-peat here, from my estimation.
I think Tully is going to surprise, or rather could.
I think we say that every year, and it just never happens.
So, quick overview. Greyjoy with Newton and Roethlisberger at quarterback. Let's see, C.J. Anderson, Dalvin Cook, the important Cleveland back right now, not necessarily long-term, Carlos Hyde, Marshawn Lynch at running back, receivers, Larry Fitzgerald, Reek, who will remain with his team forevermore, Jake Kumaro, who is, of course, infamous for any Green Bay fan, and then 8 tight ends, including the one, the only Rob Gronkowski. So before I jump further, Greyjoy, 8 tight ends with Gronk on your team? I recognize 3 are on taxi squad, but what's the thought there?
The thought there was that I had accumulated all of these people when Jason Witten was my starting tight end, and I needed options. I just haven't gone through and called all of them out yet, but yeah, they'll be going away. It's a bit of a disaster here.
That makes sense. And then his closest competition probably is Tully right now, Eli and Carr at quarterback, Peyton Barber, Nick Chubb, Carry-On, and McCaffrey at running back, Aguilar, Gallup, Gordon, Lockett, Moncrief, if you're into that kind of thing, Shepard, Albert Wilson, and Watkins, so otherwise known as a ton of number 2 or number 3s, but no number 1s, and then Ingram, Rico, and Croft. So again, like Lewis said, we always say this team's a year away, but it's been a year away for the last 2 years. So it'd be interesting to see if this is the year they actually put it together. But all those up-and-coming receivers we loved last year. Bad luck happened, and a lot of them kind of bounced. So it'll be interesting to see if what Tully is able to put together at the receiver position to actually give a challenge to Greyjoy. A team that is putting together a little bit better is Mallister. Cam and Mahomes at quarterback, Saquon, Jordan Howard at running back. I think that's John Brown. It's either John or Ron Brown. Corey Davis, Kumaro, Allen Robinson, and Sterling Shepard at receiver, with Everett, Yerman, and Jarwin at tight end. So this is probably one of those eventual homes for one of Greyjoy's 15 tight ends, but actually has enough elite pieces that could take a game or two off of Greyjoy this year, but I think probably he's still a little bit too far away, and I'm not going to waste anyone's time going through Brotherhood's team right now. He's in the midst of a rebuild. He needs to sell OBJ at some point to help with that rebuild, but he's not going to challenge anything this year. But I think he has 3 first-rounders already to start said rebuild, so good on you there, but it's definitely a work in progress. But yeah, I think this is Greyjoy's division.
Yeah, let me sync this putt real quick. Yeah, I'm 40 feet short, never mind. Yeah, I agree. It's Greyjoy's division. In terms of surprises, I think the surprise out of this division is going to be Mallister. I don't think it's Tully. Like what you just said, it's been 3 years in a row now where we're like, oh yeah, this team is actually legit. They have a lot of value, a lot of pieces. And it's either just never come together, or he's made a couple moves. Like at one point, this team had Gurley and was winning, and then decided to move Gurley and it started losing. So I mean, he does have the track record of not being able to put things together here down the stretch. So I'm not really going to be surprised.
I think it was Fournette he traded away, not Gurley.
No, I'm fairly certain he had Gurley. I can look. I'll look it up while we talk about some other teams. But he might have traded both, but I'm fairly certain he had Gurley. He moved one for a quarterback because he wouldn't buy a different quarterback, and so he bought I think it was Derek Carr, and Derek Carr pooped the bed ever since he bought him. So I'll double check, but I want to say it was Gurley. But yeah, I like Mallister's team. I think he's a tight end away from being actually pretty decent. No depth, so I mean, that is what it is. But I think I said the same thing about Bainfort when I was talking about Bainfort this time last year, and I said really solid team, no fucking depth. If an injury happens, he's screwed. He got no injuries, made it through, got lucky on a rookie in Juju. And that's really all Woe needs here, or Mallister. Mahomes and Newton at quarterback, he's set. Barkley and Howard, he's set. The three wide receivers that we know are in the starting lineup are going to be A-Rob, Sterling Shepard, and Corey Davis. Corey Davis looks pretty good. He's missing the tight end, but if Dante Pettis is the Juju-like wide receiver for this year, and comes out big for San Francisco, then you're talking about a team now that's in a position to make some noise.
Truth fact. All right. Moving along here to next division, and keep this simple also. This is, of course, the Vale. Harding's going to win this division if he doesn't, something's gone terribly, terribly wrong. Baelish and Egan aren't going to compete in this division because Baelish is clearly in a rebuild, and Egan, for once in his life, is not trading first-round picks. So I think that pretty much indicates that he's in a rebuild as well. Evan is perpetually in the wild card race, whether he wants to be or not, and looks like he has the team to do so. I'll start with Harding, though. Quarterbacks Wilson, Flacco, and Prescott. Flacco should still probably be a third option this year until Lamar takes that job. Gurley and DJ at running backs, pretty sick. But again, not a lot of depth behind it. Dez, Edelman, AJ Green, Nuke, and Golden Tate. So Nuke and AJ, very nice to start. Edelman, when he comes back, will be a good number 3, but not a lot of depth there. and then Kelsey, Jimmy, and Eifert at tight end with Croft backing up Eifert. So most depth this team has is at quarterback and tight end, not enough depth behind the elite guys at running back and receiver. So big injury, and the Superman is kryptonite real fast. But again, he's pretty sick if things stay healthy for him. Like I said, only other real challenger in this division is Royce Cousins, and now he's got a second starter with Darnold winning that job in New York. Zeke, Drake, and that's kind of it, unless Michael's able to start a game or two for Indy with all the injuries. Receiver Benjamin Crowder, Evans, and Mike Thomas, the good one. So again, receiver is still his best position, and then ASJ and Howard at tight end. So again, not a team that's going to win the league, but a team that's going to definitely be in the conversation in the playoffs. And, I'll just quickly touch Baelish's team, Lamar and Allen, Coleman at running back, as well as James White, Cup, and rookies really at wide receiver, and then Hunter Henry and Hurst at tight end. So again, like I said, rebuilding. And then Egan is looking Peterman at quarterback because, again, remember Peterman for Cam Newton. That's one that'll go down in infamy. Miami backfield, Balaj and Drake, but no Gore. I think he's got Jamal Williams there, or is that Joe Williams? No, that's Jamal. So he's at least got a potential couple starters. Allison Carr, Miller at wide receiver, so really nothing there. And then Antonio Gates is only tight end who is not actually signed with a team. So, like I said, it's Royce and it's Harding, but it's probably Harding with Royce in the wild card conversation.
Yeah, and I went back and looked at Tully because for whatever reason I was thinking Gurley. Greyjoy was thinking Fournette. Neither one of us is wrong. He had both on his team at one point and now has neither. So that tells you the luck or the fate or what have you of House Tully. And then in terms of these teams, I think it was smart of Baelish to realize the fall now was probably quicker than what it needed to be because where his team was, I'm fairly certain that it could have competed with Aaron. Probably not on paper as good as his team, but looking at Aaron's now, I don't think it's as formidable as I once thought it was. He's gotten older, I believe, with the pickups of Golden Tate, Julian Edelman, some other pieces that just don't make sense for me for where his team was at. So I definitely think he's beatable. Still probably the best team on paper, but the downfall of Baelish has kind of made that into a rebuilding division. Egan, I no fucking clue. I don't even I get one of those teams that have no fucking clue what to tell you what he's doing. Still doesn't have depth. Still doesn't have anything. You would think that for a team that's as bad as he is, that you'd want to acquire players, just some dart throws to see if anything pans out and you can grab some value in a bottle. But that's not what's going on here. So that's interesting. But I also think it's weird that Baelish still has some pieces like Jamison Crowder. Trying to think of who else he has. I think he has A-Rob. So he's got some pieces that are going to score him enough points. They're not going to be a ton, but if you're looking with what he's got to compete with, I'm trying to think. I think he's got to be south of 60 points a game to flirt with a first overall pick, because I think that's where I was at last year, and I'll double check on that while you guys go on to talk and see where he needs to be at in points per game. But when you start adding up the points or the projected points of the players he's got, he's in a position where he'll probably play his way out of the 101. And if he's not, then he's going to put himself in a spot where he's probably going to take a quarterback. And he just took – I think he has two already this year, and it looks like he's got the two that probably were the worst. And it was the same thing with, I wanted to comment that on Brotherhood and I forgot. But Brotherhood, I'm not sure if he even needed a quarterback. I'm fairly certain he had two, or he had 1.5 or something, where he had Bradford. Then it would have made sense for him to grab Rosen, and he didn't, and he went Jackson, and that's kind of backfired on him a little bit here, at least out the initial gate. So that only makes his rebuild process longer and worse. So some of these teams that chose the rebuilding route last year or during the draft or throughout the draft did a really poorly job at setting their foundation and are going to have to almost tear it down and restart again.
Do you think that the teams who took Jackson were taking him for 2018?
No, probably not. But actually, you know what? 50-50 on it, because in terms of everything you hear, in terms of the mechanics and the throwing and the accuracy, everyone said that he's been a work in progress, and that was what it was. But then again, you're talking about people that are like, oh, well, he's going to see the field, and that's all he needs is he's going to see the field. He's going to be Michael Vick. He's going to be running free. He's going to be getting fantasy points. He's going to be doing all that. So I think it was 50-50 on that. I think the ones that were stashing him, were in effect thinking, oh, he's not going to play for this year. But with how high he went in this league, I think there had to have been at least one of those guys had to have been like, oh yeah, I'm getting this guy for this year. It may not be to start week 1, but at some point this dude is going to be the dude. And we're not even, we haven't seen anything that, people are saying, well, Flacco's contract has a thing in it for after this season, where he is going to get cut and then it'll be Lamar Jackson next year. If we don't see something out of Lamar Jackson between now and next year, they sure as fuck are not going to cut Flacco. I'm sure as fuck not going to cut Flacco.
That's interesting because we drafted fairly early, shortly after the NFL draft, before OTAs or before, Lamar Jackson took an NFL practice field. And at the time, I'm a bit of a local, so hearing things here, no one in the organization thought he was going to be ready for this year. But at the same time, you have the Deshaun Watson effect, and people want the next piece of that.
Yeah, look, I think you don't go at the end of the first round and expect to be starting immediately. I think last time anyone in that range happened, it was like a Geno Smith or like the Kaepernick / Dalton year. So again, I don't think anything was for this year. I think it's an interesting question because obviously the Ravens did it for thinking in 2019. And I completely disagree with Lewis here in terms of in this league. There's no way that either of those teams, Baelish or Brotherhood, were going to compete this year. So again, based off of the picks they had and where they had them, I would still argue Lamar's got the highest upside for once he gets into games in terms of points per week. Again, longevity in the league's a different question, but that's not a guy you take for 2018, and it's not a guy you take for 2022. It's a guy you take because you think for the time that he's in the league, he's going to be electric. And look, Flacco, they'll make that decision at the end of this year. If they go 6-10, Flacco could be gone because Harbaugh is most definitely going to be gone. From an NFL perspective, but for those teams' perspectives, this was a rebuilding piece, and it was a matter of who do you think is the best guy to rebuild with.
Right, that's what I'm saying is that they very easily could have picked the wrong one. I want to pull up Brotherhood really quick because I've nothing against him, but I think it's a good example of I clicked on Brotherhood and put up Harding. I think it's a good example of where you overthink things. Yeah, it would be nice to hit on like what Gravejoy said, the next Deshaun Watson. But in looking at Brotherhood's team at quarterback, he's got Bradford and Dalton. Like the easy pick there is Josh Rosen because you're insured a quarterback, you're insured value, you're insured long-term value. In terms of fantasy points, would Rosen outscore Lamar Jackson, if Lamar Jackson started from day one, I don't know, probably not. But it's there's too much, or you trade back a little bit and pick up Rosen. But it's just one of those things where he could have cemented a position like 100, if that makes sense. He could have 100% cemented down his quarterback position and then gone into next year and be like, I absolutely do not need a quarterback. In taking Lamar Jackson, he now has Bradford, Dalton, and Lamar Jackson. If Bradford loses his job, he's now down to Dalton and Jackson. Dalton's been iffy. Jackson's still iffy. If Jackson doesn't win the job by next year, then you're like, okay, now how many questions? You have more question marks at quarterback than what you would have had to start the whole damn process with. And that's my point there. It's a little easier for Baelish because Baelish didn't have any quarterbacks, and so he needed to take two, and he took those two. But where you're picking at, you're talking about probably in substitution. And I think I had mocked Darius Geist to Baelish every single time from like February on. Or January on, or whenever I started mocking. So in terms of 2018, neither one of those would work out. But again, I think I'd still rather have like Geis and Allen than I would have Jackson and Allen. But that's just me.
All right, so let's move to a division that has some more contenders in it. Moving along to Beyond the Wall. We'll start off this time getting, again, the team that's not going to win the division out of the way. That's Knight's Watch. Again, he's got replacement level all over the place, but he's not going to compete. So, again, good luck, but definitely this is the definition of replacement level team. The other three, however, I think definitely are ready or poised to make some noise this year. Let's see, Walkers with Breeze, Rogers, and Alex Smith. Quarterback, running back, McKinnon, and Morris. Surprisingly having that stack. Adrian Peterson and Bilal Powell. So decent looking running backs, receivers. Let's see, Edelman, Helton, Demaryius Thomas, but not bad, but not great. And then Greg Olsen at tight end. So solid team, but not elite except for the quarterbacks. Folk still has Wilson and Goff with Case Keenum as that third option. Running Zeke and Freeman with Ingram suspended for the first 4 games, but still that's a pretty good 1-2-3 punch. Receivers in let's see, Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, and Tyreek Hill. With some options still coming up on the younger side. And then tight end, he's got Rudolph. And then a couple upside guys in Brait, as well as Andrews maybe getting a shot here, but probably going to take a few years there. So definitely a championship competitive roster from Free Folk, assuming he knows who to start. And then last but not least, Children of the Forest, who I would say, as mentioned, there were teams that looked pretty invincible to start the year, and I think this is one of the ones that the offseason has had mixed impact on these teams. So, example, quarterback, Stafford's looking good. Dak, there's still the question, who in God's name is he going to throw to? And now that Darnold's been named the starter, McCown has been relegated to a backup. So instead of potentially having 3 or 4 starting quarterbacks, it's looking like he's going to have 2. On the other hand, Hyde looks like he's going to hang on to that job. So he's got 2 starters in Howard and Hyde at running back, and then a satellite guy in Powell, which is good. Then receivers, he's still got some pretty great options in Allen, Crabtree, Nuke, and that's Demaryius Thomas as well there.
DeAnthony Thomas.
DeAnthony Thomas. So that's not as good of an option. But again, the 3 of Nuke, Crabtree, and Allen still quite good, with his favorite Travis Kelce at tight end. So again, I think he's got enough to put together a good starting lineup with Dak, Stafford, Howard Hyde, his 3 receivers, and Kelce. But the depth behind is not great. So he's going to be one of those teams that if he gets off to a slow start, we could see some of these big name players move. As someone who's kicked the tires on him, it's going to be a challenge to get those players, but wish everyone good luck. But I'd say Folks probably got this division just based off of a deeper roster. Children probably is in the wild card conversation, as is Walker's always. But I don't expect 3 teams from this division to make the playoffs as it's in years past.
Yeah, I'm a little different than you on this division. I think there's 2 teams in the top and one in the middle and one that's not good. And it's not in any of the order that you said. I'd rather have Night Watch's team over White Walkers. I think there's more value, there's more youth, and there's more usable pieces in my mind. I mean, Eli Manning isn't the best of options at quarterback, but it is a quarterback in a Superflex league, so he's going to roll with Manning and Smith. He's got Jay Ajayi. CJ Anderson is going to have some kind of role in Carolina. It won't be massive, but he's never had a massive role, and he still puts up 150, 160 points. If Chris Carson holds onto the job in Seattle, where he bought Carson at, hopefully you get him back up to that kind of value. Cohen's been playing running back and wide receiver. If Aaron Jones comes back from suspension and is a starting running back in Green Bay, he's got Lamar Miller. So, I mean, there in and of itself, I think it is better than what you're talking about. For White Walkers, he only has Sherrick McKinnon and some other old-ass pieces. And then the wide receivers here, nothing special, nothing great, but still guys that scored points. Nelson Aguilar, Marvin Jones, Paul Richardson in a new role. D.D. Westbrook hopefully stepping up. Tyrell Williams has done well for the Chargers. And then at tight end, he has Ebron. Not much there, but then again, I don't think you need any ridiculous production. Maybe 8-10 points from your tight end in this league will be enough if you're good enough everywhere else. So I like Night's Watch in the middle of the pack. White Walkers didn't make playoffs, and I think he only had – damn it, now I got it here. Make me look. I think he only had a handful of wins last year, and I'm probably going to put him right in the same boat again this year. Not a good team. I don't like the team. He's stupidly dumb lucked himself into some old guys here that should not be in the league that have gotten another chance. Yeah, so he went 4-10 last year. Basement in the division. I think he's going to be the basement of the division again with Night's Watch in the middle, and Free Folk and Children battle it out. But like you said, I do like Free Folk over Children, so that would be my order for that division.
It's funny because I
agree to disagree. Great, Joe, what do you think?
I was going to say it's funny because I don't remember Walker's being that bad last year. I remember a couple weeks in he was 0-2 or something like that, and I tried to trade him for Drew Brees, and he wouldn't let him go. And then it feels like he won like the next 4 games in a row and was going to be in the thick of things. It's probably my memory that's bad here, but
I can double check that.
Pull this up.
Yeah, he was a bad team, and he's gotten some dumb luck with the Adrian Peterson stuff. I think he had Alfred Morris on his team already, and the McKinnon thing kind of just lined up that way, so he dumb lucked into that. Dumb lucked into some other things that I just don't think. Is there a way I can see the schedule from results or something?
He was 0-2, and then he was 3-3. So he
went 1 yeah.
Okay. So he I mean, when I was discussing things with him, he was still thinking that he had a shot, and it's just unfortunate that it went south for him from there. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. You've got Eli and Alex Smith versus Rodgers and Breeze, and it sounds like it's not even a competition. But if Breeze continues the way he played last year, or the game scripts for New Orleans feature their defense and running game, then Breeze isn't going to be the Breeze that we're used to seeing. And not only that, he's getting older and older and older.
Right, and then but even if you I'll give White Walkers the quarterbacks. I don't think you can give them the running backs, and then when you get to the wide receiver, and then when you get to the wide receiver group, it's kind of like pick your poison at that point. I think a lot of those guys are in the same tier, so it would just be like pick your preference to which you prefer. And so I don't think you could make. I mean, you could make an argument either side, but I don't think it's a very strong one. The only beneficiary coming at tight end, which he has Greg Olsen, which didn't look very good last year when he played, and that he got injured. But before the injury and after the injury, he didn't look like his old self. And then just I think I saw reports that they were like, "Oh, he's back to his old self." Yeah, I saw him last year. He didn't look like he was his old self before he even got hurt. So it's just one of those things that I think because of the stockpiling of running back, which is a Night Watch thing dating back to D96, that he is going to have not all of the right pieces of running back, but he's going to have enough where you're going to go, oh shit, he's either going to flip these guys for value, which is we've seen him do in D96, or he's going to hold these guys and start one wide receiver and one tight end and play 6 running backs or 5 running backs.
Well, I mean, it's hopefully he picks the right weeks for these guys because they all look like they could boom or bust any week of the season.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I think he's going to start Ajayi every single week, no questions asked. I think he's going to start Lamar Miller every single week, no questions asked. For the first week or 2 or 3, he's going to start Chris Carson because I think it'll take Penny that long, if not longer, to overthrow Carson in that spot. And then by that point, if you've got Aaron Jones, we're missing the Green Bay guy because it's probably our 70th episode or 80th episode or some kind of milestone episode that he's missing here. But the Green Bay guy probably would tell us that Aaron Jones, I think, is the favorite for the running back position, and that the other guys are just kind of going to lock it down until he gets back. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I heard. And if that's the case, so if he's got Chris Carson for a couple of weeks and then Aaron Jones comes back after a 2-week suspension, then you've got, at least 3, 4, 5 weeks covered in terms of what you're starting at running back. And then at that point, you kind of can decide if you're a contender or pretender or other teams might be giving up. You can get another piece. So I wouldn't rule out Night's Watch out for the basement. I don't think he's going to win the division, but I think similar to last year's 6, 7, maybe an 8th win, but not enough to get a playoff spot.
All right, let's keep moving because as you guys have likely seen at this point, the preview video has been released, and I want to check this thing out before bed. So let's move this over to the fire. Starting with Storm and Crown, we've got Dondarrion, Targaryen, Swan, and Fell, and this one feels like it usually is a bit of a dogfight. Lewis famously rebooted his team last year. Quarterbacks, Bortles and Rivers, running backs, Collins, Henry, Lamar Miller, P. Ryan. We'll see what happens with Peterson, Clement. We'll see what happens with Ajayi. Booker's named the starter. We'll see how long he hangs on to it. Procise, again, a bit of a cluster in Seattle. Speaking of which, I'll probably have to put in a taxi theft on that one since he's on his taxi squad. Receiver, Enunwa Ginn. I think that's Djax, Leon IR, Tate Thielen. So solid receivers in Woods. And then Walker at tight end. Assume he's probably back to full strength at this point, even though he got injured in the preseason. Ebron will see what his role is in Indy between him and Doyle, but some upside. So again, probably a fringe wildcard squad from Lewis with some upside to do more based off of a little bit more depth here. We'll see how things break. But the rest of the division is kind of, was more probably on that win now side for Targaryen and Swan, and those windows are closing. On the other hand, Fell is another one in the Tully mode of we keep waiting for him to arrive. Targaryen, Ryan, and Roethlisberger. Running back is Melvin Gordon. Receivers, Keelan Cole, Diggs, Evans, and Sammy Watkins. Tight end Gronk. So probably he's able to hang on for one more year, but this is kind of getting to the end for him. Swan with Brady and Garoppolo, of course. Bell and Kamara and White at running back. Receivers, pretty bare. Emmanuel Sanders and Jordy and Kelvin, but and Galladay. But again, nothing to really feel good about. And then Delaney at tight end as well as George Kittle. So whereas Targaryen's strength, is he's got Gordon and some strong receivers. Swan has a couple strong running backs, but very weak, much weaker at the receiver position. Fell Winston with suspension, but has Flacco and Stafford. Running back continues to stalk around Freeman, Chris Thompson. He's got Balaj and Mixon, so a couple upside plays there. Amari, see if this is the year he actually breaks out with Chris Hogan and Djax. Has not hired Marquise Lee yet, so he probably needs to get on that. And Ross has shown well this preseason, so maybe he'll show him something too. Tight end, it's a little bit more murky with Burton and Joku and Clay. Probably the strongest of his positions at the moment, but again, maybe a year away based off of how some of his youngins break out, but not a team I'm expecting to do much other than 8-8 this year, or 500 this year, I guess. So that would be 7-7.
I don't know. Feel like he could surprise some people with a couple of good, breakout performances here. He's got solid QBs and enough starters and enough let's call them lottery tickets at this point that they could all break his way. Tight end is solid. I think it's not. I don't know. Like you say, it's likely a year away, or he's always going to be a year away. But things could go very well for him this year.
I want to see if this works. Hold on. Can you see this? No.
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 All right, give me a second.
I can hear it.
You can't see it.
I see you.
Dude, we're trying to preview right now. Save this for the end.
Oh, I got it, I think. Where the fuck did it go? It's here. Hold on. All right, can you see it now?
Yeah. Okay, we're trying to do the... All right.
I don't know. I thought it was cool. We'll share it for the end. All right, you're right. All right. So we can do that at the end. Sorry, it was just entertaining. And for whatever reason, Jeremy wants to redo the entire site in 8-bit. I don't know what that means. He PN'd me. I don't know what to say to that.
You should say, yes, do that. Do that right now.
All right, so I'm going to put my headset back in so I can hear everything. But yeah, so were we talking about Fell? I agree that he's probably in the same spot of continually being 1 year away, and that's because he won't make any moves to be anything other than that. So he will continue to be 1 year away until he hits on the diamond in the rough. Like his team's never bad enough that he's going to have an early enough pick. So he's always going to be in that range where he's picking mid to late round talent. Not really the highest hit percentage in terms of hitting a boom player, the kind of player that he needs to put him over the top. Now, if you do it long enough, I'm sure he'll hit on somebody, but to hit on somebody, this year and expect, I think that player this year is Royce Freeman. Is the guy that he's got in that position where he would need Royce Freeman to absolutely blow up and turn into something so good that it puts his team over the top. So I just think he'll continually always be 1 year away. Like you said, with the other teams. I think Swan's team's terrible. Again, dummy luck with Kamara, a little even more so with Kittle. Had she not dumb lucked onto those things, because again, that was you're talking about like if Fell had dumb lucked onto Kamara, then his team is a lot better, like a lot better. She dumb lucked onto it with a bad team, and so it's kind of kept her in a playoff hunt. But her team, you're talking about a team within a year or two. Again, she doesn't make any moves. That she's not going to have anybody on that roster. She'll be rostering free agent players, retired players, and so that's kind of why I took last year to put myself in the position that I'm in now, where I feel like my team can go up, toe for toe against any of these teams. I'm not sure my team's ever going to have a bad week. I think I'll just be solidly around like 100 points. I'm not sure my team's ever going to put up like 120 or 130 like a house Aaron, but I think I'm going to be around 100 every single week, which should be enough to go toe for toe with these guys, because I don't think that any one of these three particular teams in my division are consistently going to score more points than that.
All right, moving along. We've got the Reach next. Got a newcomer in House Cockshaw, Tyrell, Bulwer, and Hightower. This one's pretty easy too. I think it's Hightower. Really, Bulwer's maybe got a chance, but Tyrell's blown his team up with a bunch of high potential guys. He got lucky with that last year to have a couple break out. I don't think that's going to happen again this year. Cockshaw is in, again, he got set up relatively well by Justin. I think this was Maesters beforehand. But again, I don't think this is a team that's really going to make it happen. I think it's really between Bulwer and Hightower, with Hightower being one of the favorites in Fire. So quick review of those teams. Cockshaw, Watson, Mayfield, Winston, and Teddy. Quarterback, running back, it's Fournette and Crowell. Receiver, it's Adams, Fuller, Kirk, Sutton, Thomas, and then tight end, it's Olsen. So a solid team, but I don't think it's winning this division. Tyrell, Tannehill, and Trubisky at quarterback. Coleman, Carry On, and that's it at running back. Des Callaway, Godwin, Goodwin, Meredith. Basically, if it's a name you've thought about in the 6th round or 8th round of a startup draft at receiver, he's got him.
And how?
And then tight end, it's Doyle, Reed, and Brait. So again, this is not a team. He's basically going to need 3 at least of these receivers to break out, or he's completely hosed. Don't think I had his first in it, but again, it might have his second. But probably going to regret trading that away. As mentioned, Bulwer is one of the wild card competitors in this division. Mariota and Wentz at quarterback. Cook, guys getting injured hurts, but Cook and McCaffrey at running back with guys on IR. Maybe if he gets close, he flips guys for something that can help him. Corey Davis, Funches, Godwin. I think he's got. I think that's Taywan Taylor, not Trent Taylor. So again, and Funches. So probably a bunch of 2s and 3s at receiver, but not a breakout. And then in Muskasegi does something, nothing at tight end. So I recant. Cockshaw's probably ahead of Bulwer in division right now, but Hightower is clearly the class of it. Jimmy, Mahomes, and Mariota at quarterback. Henry, DJ, Lynch, Riddick, and Thompson at running back. Baldwin, Beckham, Matthews, and Woods at receiver. Ertz at tight end, with the ability to move someone like Henry if he needs some help with either the tight end or receiver position. So it's Hightower's division. Cockshaw might make playoffs, but we need some help to be there. Tyrell screwed.
I think we say that every year, honestly, about Tyrell, and I want to say the same thing here. But he always tends to pull one trade right after we talk shit on his team that puts him right back in the middle of things. Sorry, I'm addressing the NFL GM's nonsense. Anyway, so he always makes a trade that puts him right back in the thick of things, and so I don't want to rule that out. But until he makes that trade, he's probably in the basement of this division. He doesn't own his first, or at least I don't think he does. I think somebody else has. I think I was looking to trade with somebody that had his first. No, I just noticed it. So I can't imagine that he's going to try to rebuild without having his own first. So I want to say there's a somehow he thinks he's going to go for it. He's got some value, not like scoring points, but he does have some value pieces in wide receiver that if enough of them pan out, that he can start flipping them. Like if Dez gets a home, he might be able to flip Dez for a high second or a late first, depending on where he lands. Antonio Callaway is in a spot where he might be able to flip him. Same thing with Chris Goodwin, Marquise Goodwin. Cam Meredith looks like he's lost his spot, so that was a gamble that's not going to pay off. Parker's a gamble that can pay off. Paul Richardson, all guys that if they like exceed their value or get to where maybe he's accepting or expecting them to be, that he could sell some of these guys for high first or low first or early seconds, and then bundle enough of those to kind of bundle up. But with where he's at in quarterback, I think this is the worst he's been at in quarterback. For whatever reason, he thinks it's good. Trubisky, he has in multiple leagues. Trubisky fucking blows, capital B, capital L, capital O, capital W, capital S, bunch of exclamation points. So I'm not sure what the fascination with Trubisky is, but I think that's ultimately going to be his downfall in all his leagues where he has Trubisky, because he thinks he's going to be something that he's not.
But if you look at his rosters across all of his leagues, they all look very similar. You say he could sell some of these guys if they hit for draft picks and rebuild, but there's a reason he has these guys on his team. He will not sell them for less than what he thinks they're worth, and he thinks they're worth more than anyone else does.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Where he'll hit on a trade, so like he'll hit on one of these guys, and it only takes one person. It only takes one person. Like with Devontae Parker goes off week 1, and he goes, bam, there it is at the price I thought he was. Come get him. And it only takes one person to come and do that. And when that one person comes and gets him after that one thing, then he's done. Or if like I'm trying to think here, like James Washington, like. If something goofy happens in Pittsburgh where James Washington goes off like Juju Smith does, then you're like, oh, here we go. This is what I thought. I bought him for whatever, and now I'm going to sell him for a mid to high first. And so it only takes one person. And some of these guys, if you look at what he paid, like he's got Cameron Brate on there. He paid, I think it was like a third or a fourth for Cameron Brate. So whenever he decides to sell Cameron Brate, he's going to make his money back probably twice as much. So it's one of those things where right now it probably doesn't look like it's that great, but if he starts nickeling and diming players, that he's going to be good. But honestly, it all probably rests on Kieran Johnson. And if he's what – I really like Kieran Johnson, and so if he's what I think he is, or at least what CP thinks he's going to be, it can fix a lot of issues really quick. But again, I don't like Trubisky, and so for that reason, I can't say that this is a typical Tyrell team where he's ready to go, because I don't think he'll ever be able to sell Trubisky for where he price points Trubisky at. Even if Trubisky was really good, I don't think he'd be able to sell him with where he prices Trubisky at.
Yeah, I talked to him about Trubisky earlier in the offseason, and it was just not going anywhere because of his expectations. And right. and that may pan out. I think realistically it's going to be somewhere between where I wanted to buy him at and where he really will be, than where Tyrell thinks he will be.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So moving along here, that's just Dorn. Now we're talking about a real division. Santee, Faceless, myself, and Sand Snakes. shockingly, I think I'm going to be the one who takes this division, but it'd be silly if I didn't think that of myself. But again, Sand Snakes always finds a way to sneak his way in here. Faceless is, again, looking like a team that unfortunately could have been better, but is hanging on with Luck looking healthy. Brissett's relegated to backup. Tyrod seems to be on borrowed time based off the way that Baker's played, and then Bridgewater getting traded probably gets rid of any idea, barring a Breeze injury, that he's going to have a quarterback there. So he's got, call it 1 3/4 quarterbacks in Trubisky and Tyrod, Freeman, Abdullah, Hunt, Penny. Again, some bad luck in terms of Penny, in terms of his starting running backs. Receivers, Fuller, Jeffrey missing the first couple games, Stills and Schuster. So 2 good players to start, with some potential of Fuller and Jeffrey provide some reinforcements as the year goes on. Hooper and Doyle at tight end. So solid team. Let's see, we've got Santee, who I got to scroll all over the place because this is one of those divisions that's not in order. Again, team that was rebuilding after some bad luck last year. Dalton and Tannehill, so solid QB2s to start. Burkhead, Collins, and Michelle, so good running back 2s at that level. Cooper, Hilton, Jones, and Sanders, so strong receiving core. And then Ricky Seals-Jones, it looks like his starter at tight end, so probably a tight end 2 starter. So solid team, but not a team that's probably going to compete. My team is 2 quarterbacks, Brady and Cousins. McCown being in that backup role now. Barkley, McKinnon, and Carson, with Penny backing up Carson and Breida backing up McKinnon. Receivers, Baldwin, Diggs, Fitzgerald, Funchess, Kirk Landry, and then Traquan Smith, who looks to be getting that 2 or 3 job in New Orleans, and then Hooper and Kittle. So short and elite tight end. Feeling pretty good about where I'm sitting in this division. Snakes, again, though, based off his running backs, is definitely going to be one who's in the conversation. Has Keenum and then Bradford as starters. Again, see how long he hangs on to that role. Running backs, Barber Bell, Royce Freeman, Melvin Gordon, and Shady McCoy. So literally could start 4 running backs and get 80 points out of them on a weekly basis. Receivers, Cobb, Ginn, Galladay, Landry. Again, good-looking set there, and Stills, but not a real tight end right now with Cook and Wilson. So, again, I'm a little biased, but I feel like I'm probably the team beating this division. I think Snakes is right there, especially if Bradford can hang on to that job and he gets a little luck at the receiver position, or if bad luck hits me at tight end or other positions where I may not be as deep. What do you guys think?
For whatever reason, I miss Sam Bradford every time I've looked at Sand Snakes, because I've gone ahead and gone, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 quarterbacks. And that's probably he probably had more at one point, I want to say. So he has 9 quarterbacks currently rostered. I think I've missed Bradford every time because I was thinking he only had Keenum. So I had him in much, much worse state than what he is now.
Well, just wait until tomorrow when Sam Bradford gets hurt.
Yeah. So I gave him Peyton Barber at a discount because I needed room for some other guys. So it pisses me off that I was right that Peyton Barber would most likely start with that job in Tampa Bay. Somebody hyped Ronald Jones, and I kind of was just like, I have a lot of Peyton Barber, so I'll probably move this one. Shouldn't have done that, held on to him. But it is really weird because, again, this is a very Forrester-like team where it's going to go over the edge very quickly, and when it does, I really hope to God that the owner doesn't jump ship. I would think that Forrester isn't going to jump ship because his team's gotten pretty bad in some other leagues. Jeff here, Sand Snakes, I'm not sure. But when it gets bad, it's going to get really ugly, very much like House Swan's team, because you're talking about there is not a lick of youth on the team. that's going to be worth building around. You're talking about within probably 2 years, you're talking about having a team that's Royce Freeman, an old Melvin Gordon, Jarvis Landry at the end of his prime, and no, not the end of his prime, probably in his prime, and then Kenny Galladay hopefully getting into his prime, and that's it. And that's not really a good, it's not really a good thing to build around. So
I don't know. I think that's a better position than my team is in. I mean, he's got Gordon and Landry are both 25 years old, so between that and if Freeman and Galladay hit, he's got two young and up and coming people behind them. It's not doom and gloom. I mean,
I think it can be. It's a little different. It's a little different for you because you can make a move or two. Here, you're talking about a guy that's not going to make a move or two unless he's pushing. Like all of his trades that he's ever done has been to one has been to acquire that quarterback. He's always been looking for another quarterback, and I don't know who he started with when he drafted this whole thing, but it has always been he was looking for a second quarterback, or a quarterback upgrade, or somebody got hurt and he needs an upgrade. Those are the only moves that he makes. He doesn't make any moves to make the value of his team better or worse. He makes moves to either fill a hole in a position or when somebody gets hurt to fill that hole. There's no like, oh shit, my team probably doesn't look that good on paper. It doesn't look very good. Le'Veon Bell's getting to be 30. This might be his last year in Pittsburgh. Whatever the deal is, I know he's not 30. I'm just exaggerating, but I just don't see that mindset there because you would see it with LaShawn McCoy maybe because I tried to buy LaShawn McCoy from him when the news broke, and then I also tried to give him Chris Ivory when the LaShawn McCoy news broke, and I wasn't, and I know it's a markup, but I wasn't where like some people were like Goose in Marvel has Ivory. I have McCoy, and his price yesterday, he was like, okay, hey man, by the way, I'm finally ready to sell Chris Ivory. Here's the deal. And it was like Chris Ivory for Giovanni Bernard, and I had to give up Bernard and another piece, something ridiculous. And I was like, what the fuck is the matter with you? Like this, and this is the discounted price that we're like, oh, I'm ready to sell, as opposed to where it was when I had asked, when the McCoy stuff broke. And so I know my price wasn't that high. I think I was looking for like a third out of Chris Ivory or something because I bought him for a fourth. I was looking for a third, and he's like, not interested. So it's one of those things where like he's not interested in building or securing his team. He's just interested in setting his lineup, letting the game play, and then if something happens to what his core of 80 points here, or what Mike said he has. If something happens to them, then he'll make a move. But there's no like pre-planning. There's no anything. So the team could fall off the hook here real quick. But I like Mike's team, and I like Faceless. I haven't looked at Sanchez in a while, but I'm sure it's bad. So Mike probably wins. Faceless is another one of those guys that we're always like, it's a year away. It's a year away. And I think it's always been for Faceless since the beginning of time. It's been the quarterback issue. I clicked on his team and it put up Santigar, so I love my computer. But yeah, so if Matt can get some things figured out, he's probably a year away. But I think Bank wins. All right, I pulled Mike up. Or not Mike. I pulled Matt's up. Yeah, so Matt's another one with Trubisky, Tyrod Taylor, Brissett, Bridgewater. Doesn't have quarterback figured out, so he will still forever be a year away.
Eric, what are your thoughts?
Who? Eric?
Hey, what's up?
Where the fuck did Eric come from?
Nice surprise.
He just joined a second ago. So yeah, we're on SS and Dorn, man. Any thoughts about SS and Dorn, or should we keep it going?
Matt's my friend. I like Matt. Banks, you're my friend. You're in that division. I think you guys will fight it off. Sand Snakes. That's actually a tough division.
All right, so Greyjoy, those are hilarious. Eric, we can't hear you.
I can hear Eric.
No.
Eric said, Matt is my friend. I like that team. Mike, you're my friend. I like your team. Oh, Santi's in that division. That's a tough division. And then that's all I heard.
And Greyjoy, what animal are those ears from?
I think they're cat ears.
And they're movable?
I have no idea what just happened.
I don't either, but
Eric's muted, so it is what it is.
we'll keep it going here. Last but not least.
Last division, knock it out. Knock them out.
Westerlands. So King Banefort here, again, probably has the inside track with Payne rebuilding, Lannister on the edge of a rebuild, and Casterly probably on the rebuild side as well. Like you said, not a whole lot of depth on Banefort, but strong enough to be able to win the league last year, getting hot at the right time, having Gurley just kind of carry him. But all in all, Bortles Goff, and he's got Kessler as Bortles handcuff, so it's probably fine there. But 2 quarterback, Fournette, Gurley, Hunt, and Mack. So 3 solid options, 3 very good options at running back, receiver. Jeffrey being out isn't good. Parker being out isn't good. I think he's only really got Juju as an option unless he really wants to start Ellington, so that's not good for him. May actually end up starting 2 tight ends in Ingram and Ertz, depending on Ingram's game time status in terms of his being concussed or not. So a very vulnerable team, very much in the Sand Snakes makeup of give me all of the running backs to give 60 or 80 base and then hope that the rest of my team kind of fills in around that, but still probably the class of this division. As mentioned, Lannister is probably a year away from a rebuild, still rolling 1 quarterback again. Duke Johnson at running back, although Booker is technically the starter in Denver, so he's got that going for him, which is nice. Receivers, Crabtree, AJ Green, Cup, Thielen, and Michael Thomas. So the bulk of this team is receivers. So as we saw last year, there could be weeks he puts up 140, 150. There's going to be weeks he puts up 50. And then last but not least, in terms of his tight ends, as Rudolph and Vernon Davis and Ian Thomas as a guy for the future. So I could easily see this team being ready to blow it up and shipping receivers all over the league by week 4, or if things start strong, kind of being in that position Bull was in last year where we're talking at week 4 and saying, how the hell is Lannister 4-0? And seeing where he takes it from there. So, like I said, I don't think this team has any shot at the playoffs unless it's in the high-scored position. Casterly, 2 starters now with Wentz and Darnold getting the role in New York. Running back, he's got Burkhead and Ajayi and Mixon. Then also Clement, because he has to have all of the Eagles. Anderson, Cooks, and
That's about it at wide receiver.
Yeah, not much.
Tyrone Taylor, maybe. I'm interested in
Is that Tyrone or Taiwan?
I'm interested in him.
Yeah, Taiwan I like. I've got him in a couple leagues. And then Goddard and Burton at tight end. So, again, I think he's going to sniff 6 wins. But again, this is not a team that's going to score more than 80 or 90 on a weekly basis. And then last but probably least is House Payne, who definitely seems interested in rebuilding this mofo. Let me find his team here. Luck and Ryan at quarterback. Lost guys at running back with his Michelle as well, but and Ronald Jones, but no real clear starters. Receiver, Cobb, Lockett just got paid. Jordy Nelson, John Ross, but again, no real dependables there. Howard and Joku and Eifert. So a team that definitely, that probably for the first time looks a year away. But this is definitely not their year. So it's Banefort in this division. Lannister could play spoiler for a couple teams. And then, yeah, Casserly could surprise people as kind of a steady 80 or 90 points and pick up a couple wins that way. But I don't see anyone challenging Main Ford. He's probably coming out of this and coming out with a bye.
Yeah, most likely. Payne, it's funny because I thought Payne had set himself up really nicely, but it looked like I don't want to call all three rookies at running back that he took in the first, high first round to be swing and misses. But it's not. I mean, it's not looking all that great. Like there are times where you come out of the preseason and you're like, oh, like these guys, like, and I kind of hit on this with the Lamar Jackson thing. I talked about the quarterbacks and like you come out of the thing and you have Baker Mayfield and you saw what Baker Mayfield did and you have, I know Barkley was 101, but I can't think of anybody else right now. But Barkley had, a couple good runs, looked really well. And you've got Barkley, you know what you've got there, and he's good. And you kind of start to check the boxes. Payne still doesn't. I mean, Geis looked very good when he was on the field, but the injury kind of leaves that box unchecked. Ronald Jones' box is not checked, like in terms of what he's going to be or what we're going to see from him. And same thing with Michelle. And so. It could have been a completely different situation. Like we could have been talking about this team being like, this dude's set up. He's got Luck and Ryan, and he's young and has these three starters, and Geis and Jones and Michelle. He's set at tight end, and so it's really just gonna be a matter of him hobbling together a wide receiver core, piecing together a wide receiver core. Now it's not so much. Now it's like, there's really not much there at wide receiver. You're probably talking about Tyler Lockett leading the group there. And then you look at the running backs, there's not much there either. So then it just becomes a team of two tight ends and two quarterbacks. And so that's a tough one, especially when you're going up against a giant foe in King Bainfort there. And it's really funny. It's almost like we've been talking like each division kind of has like their top dog. So like we went through the North, we were at Forester, we were at Gravejoy, we were at Harding. We got to be on the wall and kind of they were the first division where we were like, well, there might be two there. I don't think there's anybody in my division that's up there. I don't think there's anybody in the reach. Essos and Dorrance will kind of shake out, but I think that's Mike, and then we've got King Bainfort. So it seems like almost every division has a guy. No offense to Swan, she's not pushing for the top division, but it seems like every division has a guy that's pushing that top tier that's loaded. That's like the team to beat. And so when you have that, they're so far away that gap that it's okay for some of these other teams, but like again, this is what I'm talking about. Where like Payne went into this knowing he needed to rebuild, and if he comes out and whiffs on all three of those guys, then he puts himself in a bigger hole. And so it'll be interesting to see because Bainfort's team is young enough that it's not going to collapse anytime soon unless he collapses it on himself.
All right. Any other thoughts before we close things out?
Nope, I'm gonna play the video. Has anybody watched it? No? All right, I'm gonna play it.
I watched it.
All right, well, hush.
We don't see it, by the way.
You guys really didn't watch it?
All right. I'm going to log off so I can now watch this myself. But, guys, good to hear from you. I thought we could move this forward. Enjoy.
Have a good season, everyone.
That's loud as fuck.
Awesome.
Well, that was very well done. And again, that was House Malister that put that together for us. So thank you for that. I think you guys can still hear me. Is my mic still on? Yeah. So as I find my way back to the screen to stop sharing, I think it worked. All right. Anyways, so thanks to all for that. I don't know what happened to Mike. I guess he left. Anyways, that's all I've got. Greyjoy, thanks for joining, helping us out. Mike, thanks for hosting. I don't know where you went. I guess you left because you wanted to see the video. And Eric, thanks for hopping in for the final couple minutes. I don't know if your mic's still working or not working, but
I turned on my computer. I got here a little late.
So thanks for hopping on. Other than that, I'm going to wrap it up because it's 12 o'clock and I am going to go to bed. Got to figure out how to stop it.
All right. See you later, Lewis.
See ya.